and get some kind of a blanket or whatever, and wrap up the remains as best I can.
Yeah, you wrap up the remains in a blanket. That's not a problem.
And I'll continue my journey back to the village.
Okay.
In a much more simple manner.
Okay, so to speed through this bit so we can get back to like you guys as a group, you arrive back in Otterdale. You can see there's a bit of commotion in the village. You can see like Sally Brooks and the rest of like her family are going around like talking to people saying, "Oh, has anyone seen our Ellen? She came to town to deliver some bread, and well, we've not seen her since." And like the townspeople are just like starting to get like a bit of a sort of ad hoc search party together. Then, as Sally sees you approaching, Tiberius, resplendent on your horse, obviously like sack full of dead body over your shoulder, she sort of sees you and she says, "Oh, sir, please, I'm sorry to beg your help once again after you've given us so much, but my daughter Ellen, she's gone missing."
I'll pull that face, John, of and I'll kind of climb down off the horse.
Her face goes pale as you like give her that look, and you see some like tears gathering at the corner of her eyes.
I'll say to her, kind of like, "I believe she tried to follow us into the woods, Sally. She was set upon by a bear. Unfortunately, I was unable to get there in time."
Tears just start flowing down her cheeks.
I'll kind of give her a hug and try and gesture someone that I think would be better to deal with what's in the bag, because I don't want to be going like, "Here's the bits."
Yeah, you can see Norman Brooks, the alderman of the village, who was like just starting to get the search party together. He's wandered over because he's seen the look you gave her, and he obviously knows what it means.
Yeah. I'll kind of discreetly just let her down for 1 second and just kind of explain to him, just kind of whisper in his ear like that she's in a state, and that not to let Sally see her at least until someone's tidied it up, because I just had to bring her back.
He takes the sack off you like gently, almost reverently, and he says, "Thank you for bringing her back. We'll make sure she's given a burial, all good and proper."
But I must return to my companions. They are also in the woods and in a perilous journey themselves. And I must head back to them. I'm sorry I can't stay longer, but when I return, I'll make sure I'll do some kind of a ceremony for her, if that's okay.
Thank you kindly, sir. I'm sure her mother would greatly appreciate that. And you see him sort of like he walks off, like carrying this bag of bits towards the town hall. You see Sally and the others like start to like follow after him.
Yeah, I'll kind of give Sally an appropriate kind of like sorry conversation. Not rush away, but just kind of like give my apologies, and then electric boogaloo back to the camp.
Okay, no problem. So it's just starting to get sort of like early morning. You guys are just starting to like wake up when Tiberius like reaches you.
When I get back, I'm probably looking proper wiggy.
Yeah, Wolfric, as you see Tiberius riding back, he looks a little bit spooked.
Well, I can't imagine what you've seen as you like come riding in.
I'll just kind of like walk almost past you and kind of sit down on appropriate campfire log number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Just be like, she was dead.
You killed her?
No.
At which point, having heard that, like, Arnold Garbert's like, "Well, I dare say there was no call for that,
Of course,
young
he didn't
master."
kill her. What happened to Tiberius?
It's very strange, Dame. I can't can't say I understand truly. I reached the path, and when I got there, I found a bear that made a kill. I saw it was possibly a person, so I approached. On approaching, I found out it was in fact the Brooks girl, and she wasn't behind me anymore on the horse.
I see. Dane actually looks moved by this, like sad. Like one of the few emotions you ever seen him, other than angry.
Because I shooed the bear off and took the body back to the village, but
that's good. You did good.
Yeah, if you say so, Dane.
You notice that Arnold Garbett sort of like crosses himself and like bows his head as you're saying this.
Mm-hmm.
Primus is just listening and watching Tiberius and trickling this in.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really know how to react.
So is everything been fine here since I left? I'll just kind of like shake my head, and in my face you can tell I don't want to, but just kind of like say, well, we probably should get up and get ready and carry on.
Yes, let's make the most out of the daylight. And he moves to get up and leans in and gives Tiberius an approving nod and like a clap on the shoulder.
Yeah, I imagine that's something that is quite rare from Dane. Yeah. So Tiberius is not lost on him. You can see kind of like he's like, oh shit, things must have been shit.
Okay, so as you all head out at the start of the day, which direction would you like to head in, Dane?
Let's continue west.
Okay, make me a D100 roll to see if you get lost. It's a 10% chance. You are absolutely grand. If you could roll me a D12, please.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. The morning passes fairly uneventfully. You continue through this forest, thick, heavy, sort of ancient trees all around you.
This lake, Kelderwater?
The Kelderwater, yeah.
Do we know where that is in the forest? I mean, obviously we do on the map, but...
You've got an idea that it's pretty much near the centre of the forest.
Okay.
Does anyone in particular want to do anything when you're near the Kelderwater, or...?
Oh, if we get near it, I think we'll go check that out, because Dane has been doing a little boar hunting back when he was a fancy noble, and he does know that animals need water, so...
Very true.
I don't know. I assume it would be like a freshwater lake. Of course, we don't know in this well, but he's gonna... If our guide, Gerber, knows how to get there, he will direct him to that.
He's like, yeah, I can get to the Kelderwater. It's not a problem. He's like, if we head westwards, we should reach it fairly soon. Following the old trails, shouldn't be too much of a problem.
I think I'll probably be fairly quiet for the remainder of the day, but I will be keeping my eye out, John, for any tracks that might be appropriate for us.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. You arrive at the sort of like the edge of this large lake, the Kelderwater. It seems to be a freshwater lake. There's nothing particularly unusual about it. It seems to have quite cold, clear water in it. You can see there's a stream sort of feeding into it and another one leading out of it.
Okay, if you're up for it, Tiberius, I would like you to see if you can find any horse or lion lizard tracks.
That's fine. That's a broad stamp, but I'll certainly have a look, Dane. Not a problem.
Okay, you do actually find what appeared to be horse hoof tracks heading to the southwest from the Kelder water, as though some sort of like horse had headed up to the edge of the Kelder water, perhaps to drink, as Dane was suggesting. Then it seems to have like double backed and head back into the forest.
Is it purely horse tracks, or is there any kind of like tail slither, or
They just look like horse tracks.
okay? I'll say to Dane, Dane, I found something of note. There's some horse tracks just here that lead down to the water, as if it's come to drink, just like you had surmised.
Gerber, do you know if there's any wild horses here?
Not as far as I'm aware.
I suppose this could be the beast we're looking for. Alright, let's track it down.
Quite a-
Shouldn't we make a strategy when we find it? Because I don't think if you just shoot on it, it would be wise, because it could just fly away and it would be hard finding it again afterward.
Well, if we shoot it, it will most likely die, right?
Not necessarily. If you miss, it won't die. If you don't hit something vital, it won't die.
I suppose it depends on where we find it. If we find it in these dense trees, I don't think it'll be getting out of here too quickly.
I just want to make sure we have a plan. That's all.
Did you bring those nets you bought?
Of course.
Okay, well, how strong does Primus look?
Pretty strong.
Well, you look like you'll be able to hold yourself, so maybe would it be possible for you to sneak up on it and use the net?
I could at least make it so that it can't fly away with its wings, but I won't be able to hold down a horse on myself.
He assumes the priest doesn't do sneaky stuff.
I can't. I don't have rules for it too. I'm not better at it than anyone else.
How strong does Wolfric look?
The answer would be no. He is like a human twig.
Okay, well, maybe you could use one of the lassos, and maybe it can be held like an actual horse.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest as many of us try to sneak up upon it. One throws the net over it, and the rest tries to subdue it, and then we can just kill it easily.
Well, I'll be the first to admit that subterfuge and stealth is not my skills. But I'm happy to hold on to a rope if someone can attach it.
Well, I'm not good at sneaking around in the forest too, but I gotta do what I gotta do.
Yeah, indeed. Well,
Gerber, you're used to tracking down prey. You must have some skill in moving around.
He says, well, yeah, I can on my own. I'm not too bad at it.
All right, you and Primus will take the
I hand him
sticks.
one of the animal catchers in a net.
He's up top.
And the rest of us will follow at a appropriate distance, I suppose. Or maybe you should actually go with them, Tiberius, because we need you to track.
yes. If I track it to a point where I believe we can see it, or it's not far away, and then I'll hang back and let them do their work.
Good. Let's do that then.
Okay, so you follow the tracks further into the forest. After a while, the trees seem to separate out a bit, and Tiberius, sort of like, as you're sort of ranging up ahead, tracking, you can see that it appears to open up into a sort of stony area. There's like large sort of like rocks and bits of cracked stone on the floor here. Might once have been some sort of structure. You're not entirely sure, difficult to tell now. However, I'll move you all over to an appropriate map so you can have a quick look at that.
Ooh.
Dum dum dum. Encounter triggered.
And dead.
Now, who pulls the aggro? Who tanks?
We're all go.
Rob pulls the aggro. Rob always pulls the aggro.
I don't know what you're talking about. I can't wait to get 1 hit point.
The 1-point wonder.
Exactly. Always on the verge of death, but never truly dead.
Mr. Number 1.
Okay, so as I've put sort of Dane and Wulfric on the very edge, and the other three of you slightly further in. As you're sort of looking across, like I say, you can see this expanse of cracked stone that the hoof prints appear to run up to. Obviously, you can't track the hoof prints on the stone because it's stone. But you can see up ahead, sort of here-ish, what appears to be a large pile of stones. And as you're looking at them, Tiberius, since you're sort of out in the front, they don't look as though they've like fallen that way by accident. They look as though they've been like deliberately placed.
So possibly some kind of a primitive building or something that has collapsed, or just a cave.
It doesn't look like a cave or a primitive building, just like someone's like piled up these big stones in some sort of rudimentary structure.
I'll just kind of like lean over to, head back to Wulfric. Like, Wulfric, this lizard, lion, horse. Would it make a nest?
John, is that something I know?
Well, I'll tell you what, make me another roll on your lore.
My
Obscure knowledge roll.
my forsaken law. Let's see what that says. What do I know of the nesting habits of lizard horses? Not very much.
You don't know for sure. From what you vaguely remember, you think these things tend to like move in herds rather than nesting, more like horses than like eagles or anything like that.
My best guess is that they give birth to live young, being as they are,
Right.
on the move in the air. I guess
They
they
give
would.
birth in flight.
Well, obviously not, because then they would.
As they're having this discussion, Primus, you're sort of like obviously like looking around, taking in the scenes. You spot something small and white on the floor here, just in front of the pile of stones. You can't really tell what it is at this distance, but it's like very small.
I would try to. I assume I could hide somewhere here.
Oh yeah,
Or is this going
easy.
down? Or is
The ground slopes up a little bit, sort of here.
so it's it's going up here and not down. This is not a shaft downward, but something going up. So I would try to hide somewhere here.
That's
and
fine. You
take
don't even have to make
take
a
better
roll for
look at
that.
it.
Okay, move yourself across.
I would move very slowly up there.
Okay, as you creep up and you peer slowly, looking up, you can see what appears to be. It looks as though it's a very small white statue of a horse, like the size of your fist. And it appears to just be like placed here next to one of the bigger stones.
I would try to gesture to the other guys and make don't make any noise sound and point them towards me.
We're not in combat, so feel free to move yourselves, guys.
Yeah.
I have in one hand my animal catcher and the other my net.
Absolutely fine.
Imagine we're just kind of like, well, I don't know. They might be born with their wings open. Oh.
Remind me again, how far did you walk the second you were born?
I can't remember. I possibly dragged myself a few feet.
Here's the thing, Tiberius. Have you seen a birth?
Well, I've read many books and I've heard.
They have books about that in the church, do they?
Well, most of the conceptions are immaculate.
Yeah, while you're having this conversation, Primus is like,
Yeah, I'll just be kind of like, it looks like Primus has found something. Kind of, I'll just trot up there, but just kind of like nonchalantly, not necessarily, just kind of like, I'll be quiet. It's just kind of like, oh.
yeah, no problems. You all head up to this sort of like, you're sort of a bit crouched down behind this, like, where the ground raises up that you can sort of see here.
What have you found, Primus?
There's a small statue of the beast we want to catch. Maybe it can turn into a statue somehow? I'm not sure.
Can turn into. Should we throw a net over it?
Maybe?
I'll just look at Wulfric again, just kind of like in the kind of, I don't understand this world anymore.
Maybe it's an offering? I don't know.
Well, maybe you can sneak in and see if there's any sign of beasts or animals living there.
I would just look at our guide and try to nod at him and point him to follow me. And I would try to walk around the statue and don't go too close. So walking up here and then maybe somehow getting here.
While he's doing that, I prepare, get my longbow ready.
So this is a small building, so to speak.
It's not so much of a building, it's more just like a pile of stones. They seem to have been put there deliberately, but it's not like a building, it's just like a pile of rocks.
Okay.
And I've just dropped a little icon to show you where the horse statue is. Like I say, it's only very small, it's like the size of your hand.
I will take a peek inside, or
Okay,
looking into these stones.
Okay, you peer around the stones, and like I say, it's not really a building, it's just like a jumble of stones. But as you're peering at it, you can see that on the largest of the stones, the one here next to the statue, although it looks just like a small like wood carving, now you're a little bit closer, like a child might make, like a child's toy, you can see that someone has very crudely carved mother into the largest of the stones.
The word mother.
Yep.
Okay. In the common language.
Yep.
Okay, I shrug and look at to the others, and I point at the statue.
The statue is here.
Yep.
Yeah, this yellow point.
Okay, I will approach it.
Let me
Take
check.
a look.
Let me change.
I would, just as a caution, I would throw my net over it.
That's fine. I've just changed the point to red, so it's a bit easier to see. Okay, yeah, you throw your net over this little carving. The net drops over it. Now you're sort of like stood next to it as this net falls on it down. You can see it's just like a small wooden horse, like quite crudely carved. You can see that because obviously it's been carved of wood and the bark's been like shaved away. That's why it's this bright white colour. Although you can see sort of like where it's been a little bit discoloured. It's obviously been out here for like a short while.
I look at the carving and the stone and how it's most likely been made.
I removed the net.
Mm-hmm. The carving looks as though it's been sort of like chiselled into the stone, but like very crudely. In fact, you can see that like the word mother's actually like misspelled, like a peasant might write it if they could write.
Okay.
Tiberius, get up here.
I take my net again.
I will get up here.
What do you make of this? And I pick up the little statue and show it to him.
It appears to be a tiny wooden, crudely carved statue of a horse.
Yeah, I will. It's a horse thing. I'm just gonna like look blank to any other knowledge.
Yeah.
Does this look familiar somehow? Is this some kind of creature I should know as a cultist or as someone of the old faith?
It looks like a horse.
Okay.
John-
Would it be safe to assume that maybe?
Can I walk over and just have a peer down into the hole?
Yeah, like I say, you peer into the hole, you can just see like more stones there. Now you're looking at it a bit more closely, and sort of Wulfric, you'll probably know this as well. It looks more like a crude cairn rather than like a cave or a building.
I will follow him.
I will examine the wooden statue closely, knocking at it and looking for anything. Maybe it's hollow.
It doesn't appear to be hollow. It looks as though it's been, like I say, it's been crudely carved, probably from local wood. Like I say, the whittling quality is very crude on it. Like you say, you might expect it to be something like a peasant might make as like a toy for their child or something similar.
Could this be, Tiberius, that what we're looking for is actually, I don't know, sentient?
Well, given we've been told about the dead in this forest and what happened to us earlier, I wouldn't rule anything out.
Okay, well, he'll put away his longbow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's
For me,
go in.
This looks like a mother hermit and her child somehow live here.
It could be. That's why we're going in to see if
Or have been laid here.
we can parley instead of slaying. So belay any violence until I give the order.
Did Wulfric tell us? Because I know John told Johannes that this creature is intelligent. Did he tell us? I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so you guys enter into like what's a very small cave, sort of like set into these rocks. It's about 10 foot by 10 foot, if that. And in the middle of this cave is what appears to be a pile of stones. You can also see what appear to be horse hoof marks. So quite a lot of them, some of them old, some of them more recent, in the soft mud that make the floor of this cave. Tiberius used to like pick up the horse tracks like that, but pretty much anyone can see him looking around.
So, John, forsaken lore on interesting burial customs
Okay,
from
yeah,
back in the day.
go for it.
I'll take the statue just for.
Absolutely
Reference.
fine. Make a note that you've got a small statue of a horse, and I'll remove the token.
Yep.
Oh, that is the opposite of knowledge. I become dumber. In fact,
You know that there were all manner of like queer sort of pagan burial customs before the faith of the one true God righteously spread throughout the land. You will know that, like, even with that role, you'll know that some of like the pagan peoples, especially in the north where the ground was quite hard and it was difficult to like dig, they tended to just sort of like dig a shallow grave and then like pile stones on top of it because it was easier than digging through the like frozen solid ground. But you don't recall any specifics.
yeah.
Promise, don't steal from the grave.
So, how do we feel about?
Tiberius. How old do these tracks look like?
How How old do they look, John?
Like I said, there's a mixture of them. Some of them are quite old indeed.
The freshest?
Others look the freshest. Look as though they were made like a day ago, no more.
Okay, but the stone part could be big enough to cover a human, a horse.
You think it could certainly cover a human? Probably not a horse. It's not that big.
I would say a day at the longest, definitely. Possibly if we could just check within here to make sure there's nothing else in here, and if it's not here, we could lay some form of a trap for it.
Well, clearly they're intelligent, and Primus, again, don't steal from the grave. Put down the statue.
Suddenly you care about burial rituals?
I care about honoring the dead and having respect, yes. This is something you really should have taught him.
Yeah,
And while they're engaged in that, I'll go around and just to see if there's any like small other tokens in here.
Whereas I'll probably talk to Primus and just be kind of like, well, yes, I agree with letting the dead rest, but some pagan ritual.
You know, when I took the statue, we didn't even know this was some kind of burial ritual. It was just a statue rolling around here. So
okay, so while they're having that discussion, Dane, you check around the rest of this small cave. There's nothing else untoward in here, and you don't find any signs of any other offerings.
We couldn't make an easy ambush here, though.
I give Tiberius an extremely stern look.
Yes, Dane.
We are not making an ambush at a gravesite.
What if we sort of peeked under the stones, and then if there's not a horse in there or other relevant things that might benefit us, then we put the stones back and we figure out the next step.
Or Dane, let me lay this scenario too. Possibly this devil's steed is disturbing this gravesite, and
that's something that was really bothering me. The devil's steed is an entirely different creature.
Is it?
Yes, the devil most definitely does not ride on a lizard. You have been looking at the wrong pictures.
Wouldn't it stand to reason? I mean, this is a flying horse, right? And we have been following tracks.
Well, it clearly doesn't fly all the time, or it wouldn't have feet.
It makes sense it will come down to drink, feed. And then
maybe flying is just more exhausting for this beast, so it walks mostly.
Horses defecate, and if we are looking for the horse's tail,
so you're looking for horse shit.
It stands to. We're not crass. It stands to reason that there would be the rest of the hindquarters. No. So Tiberius, a horse spoor. Can you manufacture some?
Some horse what?
Spore, the droppings of the beast as it flies, maybe, or walks. I don't know. Maybe if it's in the trees or the ground.
I could certainly look for some fecal matter.
Okay. So our plan is
glorious adventures of the witch hunting company.
Yeah, quick, find some poop.
Stat.
So the plan is we are waiting here, and then we talk to this thing, and if it doesn't work, we
wait here while Tiberius is out looking for fecal matter. And Frick, you seem to be.
I would suggest we wait for this thing.
So let's remove a stone or two and see what indeed is behind.
Make me a tracking roll, Tiberius.
Indeed. And where exactly is the poop? Yep.
Okay, as you're looking around, you find what appeared to be a fresh set of horse tracks. As you get a bit further away from the stone, I'm going to move you to where you actually find the tracks. So sort of like
Horse toilet.
over here, you find tracks headed, like a fresh set of tracks heading off to the southwest, as though when whatever this creature was left, that's the direction it headed in. And a short distance down the tracks, you do indeed find an almost fresh, still a bit of steam rising from it, large pile of horse droppings.
Well, I am
It's a really good found.
indeed. I'm not afraid of getting my hands dirty in the name of God, so I'll just scoop up the poop and return.
because
You scoop up this fresh, warm poo.
Yeah, I just kind of like scoop it up and return to Wulfric triumphantly.
Exemplary work, Tiberius. We do not need the thing itself.
As you say that, I'll just slam it on the floor.
It is not it is a stepping stone. Do not step on it though. A stepping stone towards the goal, which is, I suppose, the horse's hindquarters in this case.
I thought we
Did you
assumed it
find
had
any?
buttons. Yes, I found poop.
I think what he's saying is, if you find poop, we might find the horse.
Yes, it's quite so.
But surely we can follow the tracks.
Onwards.
Why was I finding fecal matter, brother?
To establish the presence of this.
Did we find the tracks?
The truth is, just
Yes.
because he could make you do it. That's it.
I'm just kind of like unceremoniously like wipe my hands on a tree to try and get the majority of the whole poop
Oh,
off.
I make sure Tiberius sees that when I give Wulfric 1 coin and wink towards him.
I'll just kind of like glare at them both.
And I actually give you 1 coin.
Yep. So, which way does the trail point?
Yes.
Shall we proceed into the wilds, or
Yes.
That route where the track went, John,
Yeah.
where I found the aforementioned dump, does it have tracks going back and forth like in the actual cairn?
Yeah.
Okay, this path seems fairly well travelled as well. I mean, Dane, would this be far enough away from the cairn to not go against your wishes to not disturb the burial site? Could we lay in wait here if we could set up some kind of net?
Again, let's just try to track them. Clearly, they possess some sort of intelligence, so we can attempt to talk to them. And by talking to them, we will determine if they are something we need to deal with.
So I am plan B by hiding, and if it doesn't work, we still have the ambush.
Right you are.
It's not a bad idea to have something in the backhand, yes, but again, do not engage in violence until the order have been given.
You were the person who wanted to shoot the thing. You're confusing me. Seriously.
you should try the scriptures?
So what's the plan, guys?
We follow the poop.
Okay, so you're following the tracks with Tiberius leading. That is not a problem.
I'll point out the poop on the way past, just so you know, John.
Yeah, no problem.
There's poop. The remains of the poop that I didn't bring to you.
I just whisper. I really didn't thought he would do it. I really didn't.
You follow these tracks through the dense woodland until the trees start thinning out a little again. Tiberius, you're at the front, obviously you're leading. You've got Arnold Garbett sort of next to you. as you're heading along, sort of like just in the distance as the trees start to thin out, you can hear what sounds like the splashing of water.
Okay.
What do you do?
I'll just continue tracking until told otherwise.
Okay, that's fine. Let me just switch the maps over.
Ooh. Ooh. Do we...
Okay, as you head into what appears to be a small clearing, you can see to your left, Tiberius, what appears to be a collapsed tree. There's mushrooms growing on it, and in the centre of this clearing is what appears to be a small pool. You can see what appears to be a muscular man who's like in the pool. You can just see sort of like his waist, and he's like washing himself in this pool. He has long hair down his back, and he's just like, the splashing you can hear is him sort of like...
I'll just kind of like, Dane, I think there's a gentleman over there having a bath. Doesn't seem very sporting just to burst in on him.
Maybe this is a disguise?
Maybe just keep hidden. I'll go talk to him. Tiberius, and he walks forward, making his presence known.
I tried to sneak the long way around through the trees.
That's fine. This guy's not looking for you, so you can just move yourself to where you want to be. You don't have to make a roll for it.
He is armed, John, but he's not...
You're not like weapons out, ready to go.
No.
Yeah, that's fine. As you walk across, the man sort of like stops midway through, sort of like splashing some water on his hair, and he sort of watches you. You see he looks a little bit cautious, but he's got no weapons. You can see this like very muscular torso, like I say, sort of long brown hair, bit of a beard. He looks over in your direction warily as you approach.
Greetings. And I show that I don't carry weapons in my...
He nods at you.
My name is Dane Asher.
He says, we don't get many strangers in the Kelderburn. What brings you this way?
We're looking for a strange beast.
He laughs when you say that.
Horse-like creature with a mace-like tail.
His eyes narrow a little bit when you say that.
It's supposed to be known as a Equinian?
He says, oh, you mean the Equinian?
Yes.
He says, wow, you've come too far south. Their herds up north. What do you want with them anyway? They ain't doing no harm to anybody.
Well, what do you know of them?
He says, well, I've seen them in the forest. They generally keep to themselves. I know they've got a big un leading the herd. But, well, I don't bother them. They don't bother me.
Are they capable of speech?
Yeah.
So they are intelligent?
Intelligent as you or me, he says.
Hmm. And you say there's an entire herd?
That's right.
Would you say they are clearly not beasts if they can speak?
I wouldn't describe them as beasts. I'm sure some people would, not me though. Like I say, they never done me any harm.
Do you know what they hunt?
Animals, I'd assume.
Yes, but
same as myself.
But normally a horse would be a plant eater. Are these carnivores or?
Don't know for sure, but well, they keep themselves to themselves, so I assume they ain't doing no harm to civilized folk.
No.
And he sort of sneers a bit when he says civilized folk.
We heard they might have the head of a lion. Is this so?
He says, well, I won't call it exactly the head of a lion, but, well, the faces don't look right like normal horses. I could see how maybe if you were, like, squinting, or if it were dark, you might think it were a bit of a lion-like.
Okay. Johnson, other character, did they call it the green, the new infection of mushrooms and all that?
The one on the southwest coast.
Yeah.
It's called the Green Wastes.
Have you heard of the Green Wastes?
Nah. What's that?
It's sort of fungal infection of the, as you call it, civilized lands.
He says, well, I wouldn't know much about that. I don't go outside the forest. But we've got plenty of mushrooms in the forest, and he like gestures at the fallen tree. You can see these big mushrooms growing all over it.
Okay. Well, thank you, forest friend. We will not disturb you any further.
Not a problem. At this point, Tiberius, can you roll me a d20?
Certainly can.
Okay, as you're sort of like looking around Tiberius as like this conversation's going on, you and only you notice that the horse tracks appear to lead directly to the pool.
Do they lead out of the pool at anywhere?
Not that you can see recent tracks leading out of the pool.
I'll go over to Tiberius.
Move yourself where you want to go.
Swing.
Can
And wave Wolfreg up to us.
I lean and just try and look into the water?
Yep, move yourself over to the pool.
Yeah. I'll
How
just kinda,
rude.
like, walk over, but yeah, I effectively Dane's just walked over, and I'm just like, and I'll just kind of walk over a bit closer, not like so I'm watching this dude have a bath. Just like,
Oh, but
Hello?
that is what you're doing.
with my reputation.
As you're walking towards the pool, you see the water in it's like quite murky. You can't really like see the bottom or like far below the surface.
From the movement of the water, John, can I tell if there's something large under there, or
What he's asking, John, is how big is he?
Not big, not at the minute, but basically this guy's just like stood still, sort of like been chatting today, and
What would you say he's hung like a horse?
indeed? I'll kind of like turn back to Dane and just be like, the tracks go into the pool and they don't go out again. What did he say?
I think we encountered our horse from before.
What?
I think we encountered our horse from before. But it is of no concern of ours. Let's leave.
I'll kind of like look at Wolfric. And be like, Wolfric, do you know if creatures could swim very well or hold their breath for a good amount of time?
as they're saying this, the man who's like bathing moves more towards the edge of the pool, obviously hoping to hear what you're talking about. You guys are engaged in conversations you don't really notice. Primus, as you're sort of like hidden and you're watching the pool, you notice that as he sort of like moves towards the edge of the pool, like the wake left behind him in the water is like larger than you would expect the wake to be for like a normal man.
How much of him do we actually see?
Just as like basically from his waist upwards.
So, out of character, if he would be a centaur, would I see the bottom part, the horse part?
No, because the water is extremely murky. You can literally just see like his upper torso, like say sort of bare chested, very muscular, sort of bronzed, skinny, obviously spends a lot of time outdoors.
I will have my net ready.
Okay. You guys carry on your conversation.
Horses are somewhat proficient in moving in water, I believe. They're not hampered by water as such. I wouldn't throw them in the ocean. That's not something I would do.
No,
But
they
they-
don't swing. They can't cross water.
Well, they can cross rivers.
Yeah.
They couldn't swim underwater like a guillemot, say. So they couldn't. Maybe if there's some kind of underwater cave in there, maybe it swam down into there.
I don't think they
Well,
dive. No, I don't think they dive.
What are you on about, Tiberius? Let's
Tracks.
As this is going on, like the fella's now just sort of like leant like that on the side of the pool, sort of like listening and like watching you guys, like a bit of a curious expression on his face.
I would fix my rope between two of the trees in a straight line from our guys to this guy to me. So if he would run away in the opposite direction, he would run into the rope.
That's fun.
Let's go, Tiberius.
Tracks. They don't leave the pool.
Okay. Does this man look like a scaly horse lion with a mace tail?
Well, no, he doesn't. But possibly there's some kind of underwater cave.
I don't care about any water cave. I care about the word I can't say.
Yeah. Well, if that's what you want to do, I'll.
It is what I want to do. They're down south.
This horse beast is in some kind of underwater cave, and I'll just kind of like.
As you're saying this, the guy who's like leant on the edge of the pool, and he's like, "Well, I can tell you that there's no cave under the water."
I do apologise. I didn't mean to interrupt your bathing, sir. You're quite sure there's no cave under there? You fully had an explore?
Well, but pond's not very deep. There'd be no room for an underwater cave. So I've got my feet on the bottom now.
I got to be honest. I haven't seen many underwater caves. I've heard a couple of tales, but
I've not dived down. If that's what you're asking. I mean, I'm not a very good swimmer.
I just kind of look at Dane, not knowingly, and be like, do caves not come out in ponds?
We are leaving now, Tiberius.
I'll just kind of nod and.
Wolfric. And Dane goes back here.
What is it you're after in the forest again? Did you say? Says the man in the pool. You say you're after the Equinian. What do you want with them anyway?
I'll kind of like look at Dane, kind of
We're here to determine if they are, as you say, a threat.
Well, I can tell you they ain't. They leave people alone. If you don't bother them, they don't bother you. Why do you think like you don't hear anything about Equinians like killing people, do you?
No.
There you go then.
What about their divinity? Do they follow
They're
God?
what?
Do they worship?
I don't know.
I mean, they are intelligence, so there must be some sort of worship.
As you're saying this, he starts sort of climbing out of the pool, and as he does so, as some of you have correctly guessed, the lower half of his body appears like a brown horse. Where you would expect a horse's head to be is a human upper torso.
And
I'll just be like, Dane! Dane! I say Dane!
that is not what we're here for, Tiberius.
Out of curiosity, John, what is he got? A standard horsey tail?
Yep. From the waist down, he looks like a standard brown horse. You can see that its hooves match the sort of size of the print you've been following.
Horse anatomy, 1-on-1.
I've handled your poop.
We thank you for your information. We will be leaving now, Tiberius.
Like, what?
And what?
I didn't know such. And I'll kind of like be scuttling behind him, just being like, "Did you know? Did you know?"
Wolfric, can you please make me a Forsaken Law roll?
I can always make a Forsaken lore roll. Well, I can't succeed on them, maybe, but I can make them all day. Yep, fail.
Okay, you think this might be a centaur, although you've not really like studied them in any detail.
Man horse, as it's called.
Indeed.
I pick up my rope and try to sneak back again.
That's fine.
Then I'll leave.
As they walk back to the temple. We are only here in specific. We're only here to do specific things. We don't engage otherwise. Well, we're to tell if this is indeed a creation of the one true God. It seems like. He talks. He's courteous.
So if
Certainly
something
better than those cultists worshipping in the pagan gods.
As you're saying this, the centaur-like figure sort of reaches down into the brush and he picks up what appears to be a small crudely made like leather satchel that he hooks over his shoulder, and he appears to be sort of like heading in much the same direction as yourself, sort of back towards this like makeshift shrine. Mm-hmm. He just sort of like, as he sort of like slowly like meanders past you, he just sort of like nods and carries on past. You can see he appears to be like following the sort of like the trail of these hoof prints.
I'll wipe my hands as best I can to just try and get any remnants of horse poop off. Man.
Things you have to do as a cleric in this outfit.
I just whisper to Tiberius, I don't understand Dane at all.
As the man horse heads past you, you can see sort of like poking out of the corner of his leather satchel is what appears to be another of these small carved wooden horses.
Look, I kind of consciously blurt out of politeness because he's walking near us.
Yeah.
And just be like, the cairn, is it yours? And then
he looks a little sad and then says, yes, I made it for my mother.
Indeed.
Condolences on your loss.
It was a long time ago, but every now and again I like to leave a token at the stones. And he sort of like taps his satchel.
So what do you do here?
I live here.
So you have no greater purpose?
What greater purpose is there than living? Surely that is what we are born to do.
I give a side look to Tiberius.
He says,
did you hear about the one true God?
He says, yes, of course. My mother did tell me stories before she died, but when she was no longer welcome in the village, she came to live here.
Can you read?
A little.
I take out my worn down holy book I'm reading through all the time, and I will give it to him.
He takes it off and says, thank you. I'm afraid I do not have anything to give you in return.
No, it's not a problem.
I'll look very pridefully at Primus. Yeah, indeed. Possibly if you're having some tough times, it give you a place to turn. And if you wanted to go back to the village, I'm sure if you remain courteous and possibly could turn yourself to the one true God, they'd accept you.
I fear I would not be welcome. After all, they cast my mother out when she was pregnant with me.
If you have any questions about the book, we should be near the village for some time.
Thank you, but I do not go near the village. I have no desire to mix with those who cast my mother out. The forest is my home.
Maybe we can visit you again if we have questions about the forest.
If you wish, I'm normally to be found in this area. I come here to bathe regularly when I'm not visiting the cairn.
Okay. I nod and... yeah.
So what's the plan, guys?
Yeah, just quickly. Like, are there any more of your kind, Forest?
I've never seen another of my kind.
Yeah. Well,
But certainly your mother was of your kind.
He shakes his head.
No?
No, she was she was a woman as you are a man.
oh,
So, who was your father then?
He says, "Well, that is a strange story. I will tell it to you if you wish, but you seem to be in a hurry. But I'm happy to tell you the story as my mother told it to me."
No. Well, it would be interesting hearing the story. Maybe we could share a meal with you. We do have some rations we could share.
He nods, and you guys start breaking out the food. Over the course of the next few minutes, he tells you this story that his mother was a local woman who came from the nearby village of Otterdale many years ago. He said that his mother had, as he describes it, never known the touch of a man. One day she was out gathering mushrooms on the southern reaches of the Kelderburn forest when she saw this magnificent white horse emerge from the forest. She, seemingly unfeared of it, she climbed on the back of this white horse. It rode for many days through the forest before returning her to the spot at which she'd entered. As she turned to look at the horse, it disappeared back into the forest, and then a few days later she discovered that she was with child. The birth seemed to be, the pregnancy seemed to be moving a lot more quickly than would be expected. And when his mother told her story to the village, at first they didn't believe her and they thought that she'd been sort of dallying with one of the local folks there. But she was insistent, and eventually, fearing some sort of devilry, they sort of threw rocks at her and they cast her out of the village, and she fled into the forest, where she gave birth to her son, the man you're now speaking to, who introduced himself as Samson. And he said that he lived with his mother in the forest for many years, but after he was born, she was very sick, and she became more sick as time went on, and eventually died. Not knowing what to do, he buried her as best he could, built the pile of stones, sort of like carved mother onto it, and every now and again he takes an offering to remember her. He whittles these small horses and leaves them at the graveside.
Just a question about the religion. Does it have what is the word? Immaculate? Is that the word?
Yeah, Immaculate Conception. The idea is known to the Church of West Haven. Yeah.
Okay, so for us this would be like a holy thing.
Well, Immaculate Conception is normally like God sort of like visits someone, and then they're with child. However, it's only really like officially supposed to have like happened the once. And certainly all this talk of like, a mysterious horse turns up, that's not generally how, that's not the mysterious ways that the Lord works in.
No, but the way he describes the story, there was no, how to put it, horseplay involved.
Let's say you would believe it's perhaps some sort of immaculate conception. However, the whole sort of like magical horse appeared and then you found out you were pregnant. That doesn't generally jibe with what you know about the immaculate conception as defined by the church.
As a cultist of a cult of Roman gods, it sounds very... Does the story sound familiar in any way?
You know that pretty much every story that like involves Jupiter getting it on with someone involves him like appearing in like a variety of forms and basically like, Shazam, you're pregnant.
Yeah, but does that involve like sexual intercourse, or is it like...
Well, you would know, Primus, that in like the legends, some of them do, some of them don't. In some of them he appears as like a handsome man, woman, etc.
Yeah, there are stories where gods were born when someone was stabbed in the head and then they born out of the skull. And
there's a story about Jupiter where he was supposed to have like appeared of like a sort of glowing like beam of light that shone on someone and they became pregnant. There's basically all manner of stories. Pretty much all the stories about Jupiter end with like, and then the person was pregnant.
The big question is, does Primus tell anyone? Because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't, because I would be very proud that I possibly converted this guy, and I don't want Dane to kill him. So
as you're thinking about this...
I would keep it to myself.
Samson has got to the end of his story and he says, and so that's my tale, as my mother told it to me.
But it does sound miraculous.
Well, I'll just give a face to Dane of kind of like, this is above my church pay grade, and this is your call.
I've heard weirder stories.
Well, we thank you for your story, Samson. And
not at all. It's rare I get to talk with people.
We will part in peace, and the best wishes to you.
He sort of holds up the small holy book you've given him, Primus, and he says, and you are giving this to me as a gift?
Yes.
Well, thank you. I'm only sorry that I do not have anything to give you in return. I have but few possessions.
Maybe we come back to it, but for now, just read in it. Maybe you will find something enlightening in there.
Thank you. And he puts the book in his knapsack.
I'll give him a little blessing as well, just as we set off.
Okay, no problem. And you guys turn around to continue your exploration of the Kelderburn forest. And I think that is where we are going to wrap it up for this evening, fellows. So we will pick up next time with you guys continuing to the Kelderburn forest. You found out from this Samson that apparently the Equinians are sort of like further to the north in the forest. You've at least got like a direction that you can head in if you wish. Thank you very much for playing in the session, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to stop. Thank you very much to anyone who's watching either now or in the future. Hopefully we'll catch you next time. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.